Hello, sweet friends, and welcome back for another chapter in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yesterday, we took a wild adventure on a glass elevator. That when our characters walked into the elevator, there were thousands and thousands of all these teeny tiny little buttons. Have you ever been in an elevator with that many buttons? Usually, there's just like one wall with the buttons. Not buttons on the ceiling, on every wall, they were everywhere. Each button had a little label that had different locations, and it could travel any and every direction in the entire factory. Mr. Wonka told the two boys that are left that they can each press one button to take them somewhere. Because remember, we did start out with 5 children with their golden tickets. Augustus Gloop got lost when he fell in the river and got sucked up the pipe from the chocolate river and got sent to the fudge room. Then we lost Violet Beauregard because she broke the rule in the inventing room about no tasting, and she ate the piece of gum with the 3-course meal and blew up like a blueberry and was sent to the dejuicing room to try to squeeze her out, right? Then yesterday, or 2 days ago, we lost Veruca Salt, because she did not like the fact that Mr. Wonka told her no, she could not have one of his special squirrels that takes the walnut out of the walnut shell. So she went in the nut room and decided she was just going to take one. And the squirrels jumped on her, tested her, and threw her in the garbage chute because they said she was a bad nut. And her parents followed after her to try to rescue her. Hopefully, the incinerator for the trash was not turned on. So we are left with Mikey TV and Charlie Bucket. Mikey TV has started to whine about wanting to go home and watch television. He doesn't want to do this anymore, which is really? This is like a once-in-a-lifetime chance. So he asked Mr. Wonka in the elevator, is there a television room? And Mr. Wonka says, of course there is. This button right here. So Mikey TV chooses that button, pushes it, and the elevator takes off on this wild roller coaster ride to the television room. So that is where we ended up today. Our friends have arrived. They have watched all this cool stuff whizzing past the glass doors and walls of the elevator, and it has finally come to a stop. So chapter 26 is called The Television Chocolate Room. The TV family The TV family, together with Charlie and Grandpa Joe, stepped out of the lift into a room so dazzlingly bright and dazzlingly white that they screwed up their eyes in pain and stopped walking. So bright. Mr. Wonka handed each pair of them a pair of dark glasses and said, put these on quick and don't take them off while you're in here, whatever you do. This light can blind you. As soon as Charlie had his dark glasses on, he was able to look around himself in comfort. He was in a long, narrow room. The room was painted white all over. Even the floor was white, and there wasn't a speck of dust anywhere. From the ceiling, huge lamps hung down and bathed the room in a brilliant blue-white light. The room was completely bare except at the far ends. At one of these ends, there was an enormous camera on wheels, and a whole army of Oompa Loompas was clustered around it, oiling its joints and adjusting its knobs and polishing its great lens. The Oompa Loompas were all dressed in the most extraordinary way. They were wearing bright red spacesuits, complete with helmets and goggles. At least, they looked like they were wearing spacesuits, and they were working in complete silence. Watching them, Charlie experienced a queer sense of danger. There was something dangerous about this whole business, and the Oompa Loompas knew it. There was no chatting or singing among them, and they moved about over the huge black camera slowly and carefully with their scarlet spacesuits on. At the other end of the room, about 50 paces away from the camera, a single Oompa Loompa, also wearing a red spacesuit, was sitting at a black table gazing at the screen of a very large television set. Here we go, cried Mr. Wonka, hopping up and down with great excitement. This is the testing room for my very latest and greatest invention, television chocolate. But what is television chocolate? Asked Mikey TV. Good heavens, child, stop interrupting me, said Mr. Wonka. It works by television. I don't like television myself. I suppose it's all right in small doses, but children never seem to be able to take it in small doses. They want to sit there all day long, staring and staring at the screen. That's me, said Mikey TV. Be quiet, said Mr. TV. Thank you, said Mr. Wonka. I shall now tell you how this amazing television set of mine works. But first of all, do you know how ordinary television works? It's very simple. At one end, where the picture is being taken, you have a large movie camera and you start photographing something. The photographs are then split into millions of tiny little pieces, which are so small you can't see them. And these little pieces are shot out into the sky by electricity. In the sky, they go whizzing around all over the place until suddenly they hit the antenna on the roof of somebody's house. Then they go flashing down the wire that leads right into the back of the television set. And in there, they get jiggled and joggled around until at last every single one of those millions of tiny pieces is fitted back into its right place. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. And presto, the photograph appears on the screen. That isn't exactly how it works, Mikey TV said. I'm sorry. I'm a little deaf in my left ear, Mr. Wonka said. You must forgive me if I don't hear everything you say. Now, listening to what Mr. Wonka has said about how television works is not really true. That is not how television works. So as he's explaining this, the expert in the room, Mikey TV, who watches way too much television, and maybe not the best television, he would be the one to know exactly how a television works and how you get pictures on it. So he is trying to tell Mr. Wonka, hey, that's not right. Again, whenever Mikey TV has brought up something or a question to Mr. Wonka, and he doesn't really want to explain or listen to it or be told he is wrong, he pretends he can't hear or understand Mikey TV. So he has now told him he can't hear in this ear, so when Mikey TV talks, he can't hear him. It's a little rude, right? I said that isn't exactly how it works, shouted Mikey TV. You're a nice boy, Mr. Wonka said, but you talk too much. Now then, the very first time I saw ordinary television working, I was struck by a tremendous idea. Look here, I shouted, if these people can break up a photograph into millions of pieces and send the pieces whizzing through the air and then put them together again at the other end, why can't I do the same thing with a bar of chocolate? Why can't I send a real bar of chocolate whizzing through the air in tiny pieces and then put the pieces together at the other end, all ready to be eaten? Impossible, said Mikey TV. You think so? Cried Mr. Wonka. Well, watch this. I shall now send a bar of my very best chocolate from one end of this room to the other by television. Get ready there. Bring in the chocolate. Immediately, 6 Oompa Loompas marched forward, carrying on their shoulders the most enormous bar of chocolate Charlie had ever seen. It was about the size of a mattress that you would sleep on. It has to be big, Mr. Wonka explained, because whenever you send something by television, it always comes out much smaller than when it went in. So look, here's Mikey TV and Mr. Wonka. Do you see the Oompa Loompas in their red spacesuits with their helmets? Look how big that bar of chocolate is. It really is the size of a mattress on a bed. Think about your bed if it was all the way made out of chocolate. Yum. Even with ordinary television, when you photograph a big man, he never comes out on your screen any taller than a pencil. Here we go then. Get ready. No, stop, hold everything. You there, Mikey TV. Stand back, you're too close to the camera. There are dangerous rays coming out of that thing. They could break you up into a million tiny pieces in 1 second. That's why the Oompa Loompas are wearing spacesuits. The spacesuits protect them. Oh, all right, that's better. Good. A little more. Perfect. All right, now switch it on. One of the Oompa Loompas caught hold of a large switch and pulled it down. There was a blinding flash of light. "The chocolate's gone!" shouted Grandpa Joe, waving his arms. He was quite right. The whole enormous bar of chocolate had disappeared completely into thin air. "It's on its way," cried Mr. Wonka. "It's now rushing through the air above our heads in a million tiny pieces. Quick, come over here." He dashed to the other end of the room where the large television set was standing, and the others followed him. "Watch the screen," he cried. "Here it comes, look!" The screen flickered and lit up. Then suddenly, a small bar of chocolate appeared in the middle of the screen. "Take it," shouted Mr. Wonka, growing more and more excited. "How can you take it?" said Mikey TV, laughing. "It's just a picture on a television screen." So think about this. When you watch television, can you just reach in the television and take a character or something out of your television set? No, because that's not the way television works. So Mr. Wonka is saying just reach in and take it. And Mikey's TV, knowing how television works, is like, "Dude, it doesn't work like that. You can't just take it," right? He's like, "No, I don't believe what you're saying." "Charlie Bucket," cried Mr. Wonka, "you take it. Reach out and grab it." Charlie put his hand out, touched the screen, and suddenly, miraculously, the bar of chocolate came away in his fingers. He was so surprised, he nearly dropped it. "Eat it," shouted Mr. Wonka. "Go on and eat it. It'll be delicious. It's the same bar. It just got smaller on the journey, that's all." "It's absolutely fantastic," cried Grandpa Joe. It's a miracle." "Just imagine," cried Mr. Wonka, "when I start using this across the country, you'll be sitting at home watching television, and suddenly a commercial will flash onto the screen and the voice will say, 'Eat Wonka's chocolates. They are the best in the world. If you don't believe us, try one for yourself now.' And you'll simply reach out and take it. How about that, eh?" "Terrific," cried Grandpa Joe. "It will change the world." So, here is what Mr. Wonka has invented. He has invented a way to send chocolate from his studio in his factory, now mind you, a huge bar of chocolate, across to a television set where all you have to do, if you want to eat it, is reach in, take it, unwrap it, and eat it. That's pretty crazy. So think about this. In today's world, if you were watching television and you saw a picture of a snack or some kind of food that you were like, "Oh, that looks so good," all you had to do was reach into your television set, take it, and you could eat it. That is a wild thing to think about. Now, for us, unfortunately, that is not really the way television works. So, as cool of an idea as it is, you have to remember that this is fiction. But just imagine if someone really did invent that for us to have in the real world. Pretty amazing, right? So, we did come to almost some trouble in this chapter. Mikey TV got a little too close to the television camera, and Mr. Wonka had to tell him to come back. Remember, Mikey TV loves television, so I'm sure this is pretty exciting for him too, because what he is seeing is not what he knows about real television. So, hopefully you will come back tomorrow, because tomorrow, chapter 27 says, Mikey TV is sent by television. So be thinking about what that means. Find someone in your house today and tell them about the television room and how Mr. Wonka can send a bar of chocolate to a television set that you can actually eat. Amazing. What kind of food would you like someone to send to your television set that you could eat? All right, friends, I hope to see you again next time. Have a great day and be kind to each other. Bye.